Welcome the Lord's chosen. When the rare meets the radiant, even power forgets how to pretend. Have you ever noticed how certain people with massive influence, the ones who seem untouchable, suddenly become curiously fascinated with someone who doesn't chase the spotlight? It's not fame they're drawn to, it's frequency. Studies show that humans are biologically wired to gravitate toward authenticity, but when that authenticity is paired with quiet strength, it becomes magnetic, almost intoxicating. And that's exactly what's happening here. A high-profile person has become completely intrigued, maybe even obsessed with you, not because of what you have, but because of two rare qualities most people spend their lives faking. You carry them naturally, like breathing, and that drives them both wild and slightly crazy. While they've mastered influence, you've mastered impact. While they collect attention, you command atmosphere. And honestly, it's kind of funny. The person everyone else is chasing is now subtly chasing you, trying to decode the quiet power they can't manufacture in boardrooms or mirrors. So buckle up, because by the time we're done, you'll understand exactly why this high-profile person can't stop watching, wondering, and trying to figure out what you have that their money, fame, and followers can't buy. Number one, you possess influence without intention. They're obsessed because you have something they can't manufacture, influence that doesn't need intention. You don't walk into a room trying to dominate it, yet somehow everything starts to shift when you do. Conversations bend toward you, energy rearranges, and people unconsciously pay attention. You never demanded their focus. Your presence simply carries weight. It's not loud or flashy, but it's undeniable. It's the type of quiet pull that even the powerful can't explain, and that's exactly why it gets under their skin. High-profile individuals are used to orchestrating attention. They're surrounded by people who perform admiration, who clap on cue and speak on script. But with you, it's different. You don't cater, flatter, or compete. And yet, they find themselves tuned in, waiting for your reaction, like it carries more truth than the applause of a crowd. That effortless authority exposes how fragile their influence really is. They've spent years building an image to be seen, while you became someone who simply can't be ignored. What fascinates them most is that you influence through energy, not effort. You don't force outcomes or play politics, you just are. Your authenticity carries such gravity that people naturally realign around it. It's not about charisma, it's about congruence. You say little, but everything you do matches the frequency of who you are. And that consistency draws respect from those who live in performance. They can't compete with something so organic, because it's not a strategy. It's your nature. And it's almost ironic. The person who has everything money can amplify is drawn to the one thing it can't buy: organic command. You don't need a microphone to shift a mood or an audience to validate your worth. You just live truthfully, and truth, when embodied, radiates influence. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It demands to be felt. That's why they're obsessed. They can't control the power they feel around you. It's not a trick they can learn or a tactic they can copy. You don't perform influence, you embody it. And in a world obsessed with presentation, that kind of presence is revolutionary. They're watching closely, not just out of curiosity, but out of longing, trying to grasp what it feels like to move the world without ever having to move your mouth. Number two, you carry mystery without pretending. They're obsessed because they can't figure you out, and that drives them insane in the best and worst way. You don't hide, yet somehow you're unreadable. You're not mysterious because you're secretive. You're mysterious because you're real in a world full of performance. Every layer of you feels authentic, but just when they think they've understood your depth, they realize there's more. You reveal truth in doses, not as a tactic, but because your soul isn't designed for shallow exposure. High-profile people are used to decoding others easily. They live in a world where motives are predictable: money, attention, access. But with you, there's no clear angle. You don't chase proximity to power, you don't adjust your energy to please, and you don't bend just to belong. You move with a quiet confidence that says, "I already know who I am," and that's what disorients them. They're used to people who orbit them. You stand as your own universe. The more they watch you, the more contradictions they notice. You're grounded but unpredictable, humble yet unshakably sure of your worth, warm but not easily accessible. It's that balance that fascinates them. You can be kind without being naive, deep without being dramatic, distant without being cold. You live in truth, but not in full display, and that tension creates magnetism. They can't tell where your strength ends and your softness begins, and that's what keeps them hooked. Your transparency makes you trustworthy, but your layers make you unforgettable. You're not performing mystery. You simply understand that not everyone deserves full access. You reveal yourself through presence, not presentation. And in a world obsessed with overexposure, that restraint feels like luxury. They sense there's something sacred about you, not because you're trying to appear special, but because you refuse to be common. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to grasp. You carry yourself like someone who's been through enough to value privacy but healed enough not to hide. That duality is addictive. They don't want to control you. They want to understand you. But the truth is they never fully will, because what makes you magnetic isn't that you're hiding anything. It's that you've become someone who can't be easily defined. And mystery that's rooted in truth will always outrank power built on performance. Number 3. Your spirit doesn't need permission to be felt. They're drawn to you because your spirit announces itself before your voice ever does. You don't have to speak loudly, prove your worth, or demand respect. People just feel you. Your energy moves first. It carries truth, conviction, and a kind of peace that can't be faked. Before you even interact, something about your presence tells the room that you operate on a higher frequency. That's why they notice you without knowing why. They sense something rare, a spiritual authority that doesn't need a stage to make itself known. This high-profile person is used to commanding attention through power, influence, and reputation. But with you, those things don't matter. Your energy doesn't respond to titles or wealth. It responds to alignment, and that shakes them. They can't manipulate what they can't measure. They're used to admiration they can buy, but not reverence they can't explain. When you enter their space, you don't play by the rules of hierarchy. You redefine it. Your presence reminds them that no amount of status can outshine spiritual substance. What makes this so powerful is that you don't try. You don't overextend, overshare, or overperform. You've done enough inner work to radiate calm instead of chaos. You've built your strength in silence, and that's what gives it force. People feel seen, grounded, or even exposed around you, depending on where they stand in their own truth. That's why your spirit commands attention, not by seeking it, but by naturally separating light from noise. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. You know who you are and who you answer to. That certainty makes your energy clean. No pretense, no agenda, no desperation. It's rare to meet someone who carries that kind of spiritual stability, especially in a world addicted to pretending. That's what fascinates them. They can't ignore what their spirit recognizes, even if their ego doesn't understand it. Your presence doesn't just enter spaces, it shifts them. It brings clarity where there's confusion, and authenticity where there's performance. And deep down, they know that's not charisma, that's calling. They can sense that you didn't come to impress, you came to impact. That's why they're obsessed. They feel something divine in you, not loud, not forced, but undeniable. and no amount of fame can compete with that kind of quiet power. Number 4. You're unbothered by status, yet radiate royalty. They can't stop watching you because you've mastered something they never could: power without performance. You move through life without needing a title, a spotlight, or applause, yet somehow you still carry yourself like you were born to lead. It's not arrogance, it's presence. You don't demand attention, but everything about you, your calm, your boundaries, your self-assured silence, communicates authority. You don't wear crowns, you embody one. That's what rattles them. They've built their entire image on being seen, while you command respect simply by being centered. They chase validation because without it, they disappear. Their sense of worth is attached to how many people notice them, how much they own, or how loudly they can prove their importance. But you're free from that trap. You don't measure yourself by external approval, and that's what makes you untouchable. You're grounded in self-awareness, not applause. You're comfortable being underestimated because you know what you carry. You don't compete for recognition. You already own your identity. This high-profile person senses that strength and can't help but be drawn to it. You have what their money can't buy: peace that doesn't depend on position. They see how you move with humility, yet command the same reverence they demand from others. It confuses them because the usual rules don't apply to you. You don't dress for status, talk for attention, or act for approval, yet people gravitate toward you anyway. That kind of grace is royal in its own right. It's leadership rooted in authenticity, not ego. You're the proof that real power doesn't shout, it stands. Your presence doesn't need validation to have value. You've detached from the illusion that recognition equals worth, and that's why you glow differently. Your composure speaks volumes, not because you think you're better, but because you refuse to shrink or pretend. What makes you magnetic is that you carry spiritual nobility, a rare mix of dignity, humility, and inner calm that exposes how hollow, superficial influence can be. They sense it, even if they can't explain it. You make them realize that crowns made of gold will always feel heavy, but crowns made of self-respect and truth will always fit perfectly. That's why they can't look away. You remind them what real royalty feels like. Number 5, you turn intuition into precision. They're fascinated by you because your intuition isn't just sensitivity, it's strategy. You have a way of sensing things before they're said, reading people before they reveal themselves, and connecting dots others didn't even know existed. It's not luck or guessing, it's spiritual intelligence in motion. You don't rely solely on logic, yet your understanding is sharper than those who do. You can walk into a situation and instantly feel what's real and what's rehearsed. That level of discernment unsettles people, especially those who thrive on illusion. This high-profile person is used to controlling perception. They're surrounded by flattery, pretense, and carefully constructed masks. But you're the exception. You see through them. You don't get distracted by charm, power, or reputation. You notice what their words try to hide: the tone, the hesitation, the spiritual static behind their confidence. You don't expose them outright. You just navigate with quiet accuracy that makes them realize they're not as unreadable as they thought. That's what keeps them hooked, the awareness that you see the truth and still choose to move with grace. Your intuition functions like a compass in chaos. You don't waste time analyzing what your spirit already confirmed. That's why you're always a few steps ahead. Not because you're manipulative, but because you're tuned in. You sense shifts before they happen and adjust accordingly, making others wonder how you always seem to just know. They call it luck. You know it's alignment. What makes you stand out is that you don't flaunt it. You don't announce your insights or use them to control anyone. You simply trust them. You understand that knowing too much too soon is a burden, so you carry that awareness with discretion. That humility wrapped in spiritual precision is what makes your gift so powerful and so dangerous to pretenders. They respect and fear that about you. You can't be lied to, manipulated, or distracted for long because your intuition is too sharp to be deceived. It's not mystical, it's mastery. You've learned how to listen beneath the noise. And that's what unnerves them most. You see what others overlook, hear what others silence, and move like someone who's already read the next chapter while they're still memorizing the last page. Number 6, you're the mirror. They avoid but can't escape. They can't help being drawn to you, even though being near you exposes everything they try to hide. You don't confront them, but your very existence holds up a mirror they can't look away from. Your presence doesn't judge, it simply reveals. You carry a natural light that makes everything around you show its true form. The fake confidence, the quiet envy, the unresolved wounds. They feel both fascinated and uncomfortable because when they look at you, they see who they could be and who they've been pretending to be. This high-profile person has built their image carefully, piece by piece. They've mastered the art of presentation, charm, charisma, control. But when you come around, those layers start to slip. Not because you expose them publicly, but because your energy disarms them privately. You operate from authenticity, and authenticity has a frequency that falsehood can't survive in for long. Around you, masks crack, performances falter, and truth becomes unavoidable. It's not something you do deliberately. It's just who you are. They sense that your calm confidence isn't an act. It's earned. You've faced your own darkness, processed it, and come out whole. That's why you don't need to hide behind perfection. You've already made peace with imperfection. And that's what they envy most. You exist without distortion. You don't bend to fit anyone's expectations, and you don't shrink to make others comfortable. You've done the inner work that they've been too afraid to start, and your freedom exposes their fear. The irony is, while your energy unsettles them, it also inspires them. You make them want to be more honest, more grounded, more real. They may not admit it, but you've become a silent teacher in their story. Watching you forces them to reflect, not on you, but on themselves. You remind them that peace doesn't come from perfection, it comes from truth. They avoid you because you make them see the parts they'd rather keep hidden. Yet they keep coming back, drawn by the hope that some of your clarity might rub off on them. You're not just a mirror, you're a revelation. And the most unsettling part for them is knowing that while they're still trying to control perception, you've already mastered reflection. Number 7, you redefine what power looks like. They're obsessed with you because you've shattered their definition of power. To them, power has always meant control, louder voices, bigger moves, constant visibility. But you've shown them something different, something they can't imitate. Power that doesn't need to prove itself. You don't dominate, you radiate. You don't force things to happen. You move in such divine alignment that the right things naturally find their way to you. That quiet confidence makes more noise than any display of ego ever could. This high-profile person is used to people fighting for proximity, trying to impress, outshine, or outsmart. But you don't engage in that. You've stopped chasing outcomes because you understand that what's meant for you doesn't need to be wrestled into place. You operate with a calm certainty that unsettles people who thrive on chaos. They can't understand how you maintain composure while they scramble for control, yet somehow everything seems to flow in your favor. That's the kind of ease that only comes from alignment, not ambition. What they find most disarming is that your strength isn't reactive, it's responsive. You don't fight every battle, You choose the ones that matter. You don't explain yourself. You let your consistency speak for you. When you withdraw, it's not weakness, it's wisdom. You understand timing, intuition, and energy better than most people understand tactics. Your restraint has more impact than their aggression. That's a power they can't duplicate because it requires self-mastery, not domination. They've spent years climbing ladders and collecting validation, only to meet someone who dismantles their entire philosophy just by existing. Your power doesn't roar because it doesn't need to. It hums, steady, grounded, undeniable. It doesn't rely on control. It flows through alignment with purpose. You're proof that true power isn't about how much noise you make, but how much truth you carry. What unsettles them most is that you don't seem impressed by their version of success. Titles, followers, applause, none of it moves you. And that makes them move differently around you. You expose the emptiness in their climb and the exhaustion in their control. They're beginning to see that while they've been chasing crowns, you've already become the throne. That's the kind of power that can't be replicated, only recognized. Number 8, you make solitude look sacred. They can't understand how you do it, how you can be alone and still look so complete. To them, solitude feels like punishment. To you, it's a sanctuary. While they scramble to fill their lives with noise, company, and distractions, you've learned how to make peace with quiet. You don't run from stillness because you've realized it doesn't mean isolation. It means elevation. You've used your alone time not to escape the world, but to refine how you move through it. That's what makes you different. You're not lonely in solitude, you're reborn in it. This high-profile person is surrounded by people but still feels unseen. Their life is full, yet their spirit is empty. They fear silence because it confronts them with who they really are when the audience disappears. You, on the other hand, don't depend on applause to feel alive. You've built strength in the unseen spaces, where there's no validation, no audience, no noise. That's where you found your clarity, your discipline, and your peace. And that's the wealth they can't replicate. You make solitude look sacred because you've transformed it into something most people misunderstand. You've turned aloneness into alignment. You've turned quiet into revelation. You've faced your own shadows and learned to sit with your discomfort until it transformed into wisdom. That's not just self-control. That's spiritual mastery. It's why your energy feels so whole. You don't need to be surrounded to feel significant, and that's what threatens and fascinates them. They spend fortunes trying to buy the same peace you've found in silence. They chase experiences, people, and possessions to fill their emptiness, but you've already discovered the secret. Nothing external can complete you if you haven't met yourself internally. You've met your soul, and that meeting changed your entire frequency. That's what makes you magnetic. You carry a calm that can't be shaken, a confidence that doesn't need witnesses. You glow differently because your peace isn't borrowed, it's built. They can imitate your look, your language, even your lifestyle, but not your foundation. Because what you carry was forged in solitude, and solitude, the kind that refines, not isolates, can't be faked. You've made being alone look divine, and that's something the loudest crowd could never teach them. Number 9, you're fluent in energies, not just emotions. You stand out because you don't just listen to words, you read wavelengths. You pick up on what people mean, not just what they say. Where others hear emotion, you sense energy. You can walk into a space and immediately feel whether it's peaceful, chaotic, or false. You know when someone's smiling out of kindness and when they're smiling out of calculation. You've developed a sensitivity that goes beyond empathy. It's spiritual intelligence in action. That's what fascinates this high-profile person. You can't be fooled, flattered, or finessed. You read truth the way others read faces. They're used to living in a world built on performance, where intentions are layered behind charm and strategy. People approach them with hidden motives, but you don't play that game. You see the undercurrent, the real vibration behind the presentation. You know when energy is clean and when it's corrupted. You sense it in tone, timing, eye contact, or even silence. That unnerves them, because you can't be manipulated when your perception comes from a deeper place than emotion. You're fluent in energies because you've learned to trust your intuition more than appearances. You've been through situations that taught you how to listen beyond the obvious. That's why you don't overreact or take everything personally. You understand context. You don't rush to judge. You simply observe and respond with precision. You've mastered emotional self-control, not by suppression, but through understanding. You don't get pulled into chaos because you can read the vibration of it before it even reaches you. To those who manipulate, your presence is unsettling. You dismantle games without confrontation. You expose falsehoods just by existing in truth. It's not something you consciously try to do. It's just what happens when your spirit is clear. You don't absorb energy, you translate it. And once you understand it, you decide what deserves your attention and what doesn't. That's what makes you powerful and rare. You can see where a person's energy is leading them before their choices even reveal it. That kind of awareness is something that can't be taught. It's earned through discernment, self-awareness, and pain that turned into perception. To people who rely on control or manipulation, that's intimidating. But to those who understand truth, it's magnetic, because you're not just emotionally intelligent, you're energetically fluent. Number 10, you embody both grace and grit. They're captivated by you because you embody a rare equilibrium, the perfect blend of softness and strength. You have the grace to stay calm in chaos, yet the grit to walk through fire without losing your center. You're gentle, but not weak, kind, but not naive. You can open your heart without handing over your power, and that confuses people who only know extremes. Most can either fight or forgive. You've learned how to do both, and that's what makes you unforgettable. This high-profile person is used to dealing with people who either submit for approval or fight for attention. You do neither. You don't crumble under pressure, but you also don't become hardened by it. You've learned how to carry compassion without letting it turn into codependency. That kind of balance is rare, and it's what gives you your quiet strength. You move with grace because you've faced pain without becoming bitter. You've been hurt, misunderstood, and underestimated, but instead of turning cold, you turned wise. That's power in its purest form. What fascinates them is how you maintain dignity in situations where most people would lose composure. You forgive, but you don't forget the lesson. You can walk away from chaos without needing to announce your strength. You love deeply, but never at the expense of your self-respect. You can stand your ground without hostility, and that's what disarms people. They don't know how to handle power that doesn't perform. Your grit comes from experience, but your grace comes from evolution. You've learned that toughness isn't about being aggressive. It's about staying grounded when others try to pull you off balance. And your grace isn't submission, it's strategy. It's the ability to stay peaceful in situations designed to provoke you. That self-control is magnetic because it reveals maturity that no amount of fame or money can imitate. They can't quite define you, and that's what keeps them intrigued. You're the person who can comfort and confront, nurture and challenge, love and let go, all with the same steady heart. That's not contradiction, that's mastery. You're proof that true power isn't loud or ruthless. It's the ability to remain kind without being controlled, and strong without losing your softness. You're the storm and the calm, and that duality is what makes you unforgettable. Number 11, you move with purpose, not popularity. They can't understand how you do it, how you move with such certainty while everyone else is waiting for permission. You make decisions that don't make sense to the crowd, yet somehow they always align perfectly in the end. You're not chasing trends, validation, or acceptance. You're following something deeper, your purpose. That's what separates you from the masses. You don't live for applause because you've learned that applause is fickle. You live for alignment. You'd rather walk alone in truth than be celebrated in pretense. This high-profile person is surrounded by people who constantly perform for approval. Their worth is tied to visibility. They need likes, followers, headlines, or validation to feel alive. But you've detached from that system. You don't measure success by recognition. You measure it by obedience to what feels right for your soul. And that terrifies them. You're free in a way they're not. They can't control or predict someone who doesn't crave attention. You move on conviction, not convenience. You follow timing, not trends. That kind of independence can't be manipulated. It can only be respected. You don't announce every move or explain every decision. You trust your inner direction, even when others misunderstand it. You've learned that divine timing doesn't need validation. It needs faith. So you act when you feel led, not when it looks logical. And that unnerves people who rely on crowd consensus to know what's right. You're proof that destiny doesn't need an audience to unfold. It just needs someone bold enough to follow it. What fascinates them most is how calm you are in your solitude. You're not performing for anyone. You're not building a brand. You're building legacy. There's a difference. You're not chasing popularity because you understand that being chosen and being liked rarely coexist. You know purpose will often make you misunderstood before it makes you respected. That's the kind of freedom that can't be bought or borrowed. You move with intention, not impulse. You act from clarity, not fear. You don't need to be seen to be significant, and that's why they can't take their eyes off you. You represent what they secretly crave. The courage to live authentically without needing applause. You don't follow trends. You set timelines. You're not here to impress. You're here to fulfill. Number 12. You make them question their definition of winning. They've spent their whole lives chasing the idea of winning. More money, more recognition, more control. Only to meet someone like you, and suddenly, the scoreboard doesn't make sense anymore. You don't have to flaunt your life or compete for attention, yet you radiate something they can't buy: contentment. Your peace feels expensive because it is. It's been purchased with loss, patience, discipline, and surrender. You've traded chaos for clarity, and that quiet satisfaction unsettles people who've been conditioned to equate success with noise. This high-profile person built their entire identity on achievement. They thought reaching the top would bring fulfillment, but the higher they climbed, the emptier it got. Then they met you, calm, grounded, self-assured, and it disrupted everything they believed about power. You don't chase, you attract. You don't prove, you are. You've detached from the constant need to win, and somehow that detachment makes you unstoppable. They see how you carry peace like a prize, and they start realizing that maybe they've been collecting trophies that mean nothing. What fascinates them is how stable you are without status. You don't need to announce your victories because your spirit already feels victorious. You've found fulfillment in simplicity, and that simplicity exposes their exhaustion. They begin to see that all their striving, their constant reaching, might just be avoidance in disguise. Avoiding stillness, avoiding truth, avoiding themselves. Your presence forces them to confront a question they've been running from. If I lose everything I've built, will I still know who I am? Your peace makes them rethink their version of success. It whispers a truth their ego doesn't want to hear, that happiness isn't found in applause, it's found in alignment. You've learned that real winning isn't about being ahead of others, it's about being at peace with yourself. You've mastered the art of thriving without competing, of achieving without losing your center. They can't help but compare the weight of their luxury to the lightness of your freedom, and yours wins every time. You don't need to prove anything because your life already reflects it. Calm is the new power, peace is the new status, and fulfillment is the only true victory. And that realization humbles even the most successful among them. Number 13, you carry an aura of completion. They can't quite explain it, but being around you feels like standing near someone who has nothing to prove, and that's what makes you magnetic. You move through life with a kind of quiet certainty that others spend decades trying to find. You're not searching for yourself anymore because you've already met the parts of you most people run from. You've faced your shadows, forgiven your past, and made peace with your path. That level of self-acceptance radiates out of you like calm light, the kind that doesn't need to be seen to be felt. This high-profile person is surrounded by people constantly trying to be more impressive, more appealing, more complete. But you exist in a state of enoughness that disrupts that illusion. You're not competing for validation because you've already validated yourself. You don't chase relationships to feel loved because you already are love. That wholeness can't be fabricated. It has to be earned through growth, solitude, and honesty. And when someone who's still searching encounters that kind of wholeness, it feels like meeting divinity in human form. They notice how you move, steady, intentional, unbothered. You don't rush decisions or over-explain emotions. You've built an inner home so strong that you're not desperate to belong anywhere else. That's what makes your energy so grounding. People feel safer around you without knowing why. Your presence reassures them that peace is possible, but it also exposes how unanchored they really are. Your contentment isn't laziness or detachment, it's mastery. It's the result of doing the hard work of self-discovery and finally arriving at a place where nothing external can define your worth. You don't need to chase what's already within you, and that realization has set you free. You've turned inward chaos into inner order, and that kind of stability feels sacred to those who haven't yet found it. They're drawn to you because you represent what they're missing: completion without compensation, peace without performance. You remind them that the ultimate form of power isn't dominance or desire, it's self-possession. You've become whole, not because life was easy, but because you stopped waiting for something outside you to make you feel complete. And that quiet wholeness, it's louder than any success they've ever achieved. Number 14, you're proof that light can be both holy and untamed. You unsettle people because your light doesn't behave the way they expect it to. It doesn't beg for permission, and it doesn't dim to make others comfortable. Your glow isn't the kind that comes from filters or spiritual performance. It's the kind that's been refined through pain, rebirth, and relentless honesty. You've been through enough fire to understand that holiness isn't fragility. It's resilience wrapped in grace. You radiate purity not because life spared you, but because you let the flames sculpt you without burning away your essence. They're used to light that conforms, light that's rehearsed, branded, and palatable. But your energy carries both reverence and rebellion, and that combination defies every category they try to place you in. You embody contradiction beautifully, gentle yet fierce, grounded yet uncontainable, humble yet impossible to overlook. That duality is what captivates them. You don't just shine, you disturb the darkness, not by fighting it, but by existing so authentically that it can't survive near you. This high-profile person sees in you what their world often suppresses: truth without theatrics. They've built their influence on curated perfection, while your power is born from transparency. You don't hide your scars. You wear them like proof that divinity doesn't demand flawlessness. You show that being chosen isn't about being spotless. It's about being real, radiant, and unrestrained. Your light reminds them that holiness isn't passive or performative. It's wild, awake, and deeply alive. You move through spaces with unapologetic grace. You don't shrink for approval or polish your truth to fit expectations. You embody the sacred kind of confidence that comes from knowing you were forged, not fabricated. And that unsettles people who've mistaken image for essence. They realize your light isn't decoration, it's declaration. It says, I've been broken and I still burn bright. You're proof that light can carry fire and still be divine, that rebellion and purity can coexist, that you can honor God, purpose, and authenticity without surrendering your edge. Your glow doesn't imitate heaven, it reveals it. It's the kind of illumination that doesn't just brighten a room, it shifts its entire frequency. And that's why they can't look away. At the end of the day, the truth is undeniable. You were never meant to blend in with the noise. You were meant to become the silence that makes the world listen. You walk in a frequency that unsettles falsehood and attracts the authentic. You don't chase attention because your very existence commands it. What fascinates these high-profile individuals isn't your beauty, your presence, or your mystery. It's the unexplainable balance of strength and serenity that you carry so effortlessly. You are the rare blend of light and fire, softness and steel, grace and grit. You don't perform power, you embody it. You've become a walking contradiction that makes perfect sense, holy yet untamed, grounded yet limitless, humble yet impossible to overlook. They see in you what they've been trying to manufacture for years, truth that can't be copied and authenticity that can't be bought. Your aura exposes the artificial, your stillness challenges the performative, and your self-possession dismantles everything they thought power was supposed to look like. You are proof that divine alignment outshines ambition, and that real success is not about being followed. It's about being remembered for your energy. Every quality they envy in you was earned in silence, through heartbreak, transformation, and spiritual discipline. You didn't learn your power in comfort. You learned it in the chaos you refused to let define you. And now that same quiet authority speaks louder than any spotlight ever could. You've become a living message that wholeness is possible, that peace is the loudest flex, and that being chosen isn't about privilege, it's about purpose. So when they watch you, they aren't just admiring, they're awakening. You've become the reflection they didn't know they needed, a reminder that authenticity is still divine and truth is still magnetic. If this message resonated with your spirit, don't just keep it to yourself. Let it ripple. Subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share this video with someone who needs to be reminded of their power. Your engagement isn't just support. It's a declaration that real light still leads, and the chosen still rise. Stay grounded, stay glowing, and never apologize for the kind of power that can't be manufactured. Stay blessed always.